continuing with the theme of holy crap, that's a lot of points, especially in a conference game. Wisconsin at USC opened as a USC a 12.5 point favorite. USC then was bet up to a 14.5 point favorite against the Badgers. This is Alex Grinch returning to the Coliseum. He's now Wisconsin's safeties coach, so he's actually not deciding exactly what personnel they recruit, like on their defensive line. So he's not putting 260-pound defensive linemen in there. But what do you think about this? You and I saw Wisconsin the last time they played in person. We were there for the Alabama game, and then USC is coming off a just emotionally brutal loss to Michigan.
I think Wisconsin probably had a bye week at the right time, right? And the column I wrote off of the game, when we went to that Alabama blowout, we're like, well, I'm not sure if there's going to be a Wisconsin angle here, but one came out pretty quickly there, and that's like, is this offense broken? Does it have an identity crisis? Because when Luke Fickell took over there, you thought that Wisconsin would be able to have a ton of types of playmakers at the skill positions that Wisconsin wasn't able to get in the past, and that they would have higher quarterback play, and they would still be able to run the ball very efficiently. And I'm not sure that they did anything all that well against Alabama. Now, granted, Tyler Van Dyke did get injured, I believe, on the first drive of the game. And you have to go to a quarterback with little to no experience, but like you're not in a position
Braden Locke got experience last year. He replaced Tanner Mordecai for 4 games last year.
Yeah. Okay, well, so it shouldn't have looked as bad as it did. But Andy, when you go into this game in LA, what is the thing that you think Wisconsin will undoubtedly be good at?
Running the ball. And I think they watch the tape.
Yeah. So do you think that they still have it in them to be the Wisconsin of old? Like, are you still confident that they could still play bully ball the way that Michigan did a week ago?
I think they should try. And look, you and I talked about this. You wrote it in your column. When Phil Longo got hired at Wisconsin, my vision for that was not that they were going to be throwing it all over the place. I was thinking back to 2020 at North Carolina when they had Michael Carter and Devontae Williams and were just running down people's throats. I think that they should be able to, because in the Alabama game, when Alabama knew they were going to run, Wisconsin had success running the ball. Like, they just couldn't keep up with Alabama on the scoreboard. Like, they couldn't defend Alabama. And they didn't finish drives either. USC. Yeah. So,
well, that's the thing too. It's just like, I don't know. I think Michigan's defense is much better than Wisconsin's. So I think USC is probably not going to go an entire half without getting a first down like it felt like on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we might find ourselves in a position where even if Wisconsin's moving the ball on the ground moderately well, if they're not finishing drives or they're not able to throw effectively in throwing situations, that they just won't be able to keep up in the same way. Now, Andy, it's really, really hard to contextualize a loss to Alabama because it's just like sometimes you play a team that's much better than you and they make you look foolish when you're not actually foolish. But I just don't know that Wisconsin's offense is where I would have wanted it to be by this point, Luke Fickell's tenure. And I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up on the scoreboard. Also, USC, was a team that we were super excited about last week. We probably would be off the wall excited right now if they would have figured out a way to close that game against Michigan on Saturday. And I haven't lost confidence in their offense to be able to put some points up for Lincoln Riley to scheme up some offensive plays to exploit Wisconsin's weaknesses. Even if they have a hard time stopping Wisconsin's rushing attack to a certain extent, I just don't know that Wisconsin's going to be able to keep up with anybody that has the type of skill talent that USC has this year.
The best daily fantasy game in America. Use the code Staples, play $5, get $50 instantly. This past weekend, I used that almost free Caleb Williams square to pick a winner. I had a four square play. Producer River showing the 5 square play that I gave out that where only 2 of them hit. Yeah, that wasn't my best work. Ari told me don't pick a kicker. Stay away from the kickers. I picked USC's kicker. I was sure he was going to have a couple field goals and an extra point. And it turned out that they stopped needing to kick field goals because they started scoring touchdowns. And then, that didn't work. But I did have a winner. That's also not the winner, Producer River. There's the winner. There's the winner. Thanks to that almost free Caleb Williams square where all he had to do was throw for a yard. But Nate Noel just tearing it up for Missouri against Vanderbilt. Garrett Nussmeier, I'm very confident in Garrett Nussmeier. And then Garrett Green, the West Virginia quarterback. They were in a fight with Kansas going into the second half. So I did more than 19 and a half rushing yards in the second half. And sure enough, Garrett Green, White Lightning came through for me. So that's how you play Prize Picks. You pick as few as 2 squares. You pick more. The more you pick, the higher the potential payout. It's so much fun. Makes watching the games very entertaining. And again, every week in September, you've got the almost free Caleb Williams square. And that was very helpful. 1 yard equals 1 win. So one more of those. And that's coming up this week. So Caleb Williams can bail you out if you're not super confident, I think, as long as he throws for a yard. Yeah, so Ches Malusi averaged 6 yards a carry against Alabama. Cade Yakameli averaged 4.9 yards a carry against Alabama. USC's defense is not Alabama's defense. Wisconsin's going to be able to run on these guys. But I am in the same boat as you, which is I struggle with this line, though, because it's so many points. Like, I could see Wisconsin sneaking in the back door and covering this in a 2-touchdown loss. Like, because I am with you. I don't think Wisconsin can defend USC. I think USC is going to score a bunch of points.
It is kind of funny, though, when you think like everything that they were saying about USC when they took the Big Ten invitation of like, oh, you're not going to be able to keep up in the Big Ten. You're going to get the ball jammed down your throat. Your team's not built for this. Like, for their first 2 games to be Michigan and Wisconsin's kind of funny. I don't know if Wisconsin is the Wisconsin that we've known to grow. And maybe they are. Maybe they'll prove that Alabama is just, it's possible that Wisconsin could be in a 1-possession game with USC in the 4th quarter and Alabama beats Georgia on Saturday. And we're like, oh, they ran six yards a carry against an Alabama team that just beat Georgia. Like, we're still gathering information. We're still trying to get a feel for it. But like when I was at the game in Madison with you, I just felt like Wisconsin isn't 100% sure of what it is. So I hope they took the bye week. I hope they took the film from the USC-Michigan game and decided the same way that Sherrone Moore did with Michigan of like, here's what we are. Here's what we're going to do. And if it's not good enough, we're going to lose, but we're going to do what we are. And I think that's what Wisconsin has done over the last, 20 years. And if you're going to move on from that, hire a person who likes to throw the ball a little bit more in Phil Longo and try to, accentuate that running attack with better offensive weapons. If you don't have them right now, then the one thing that you have to do is be yourself. And I think, if Michigan was able to beat USC at home with a quarterback that ran for 32 or that threw for 32 yards and Alex Orji, which I still can't believe every time I look at that box score, like Wisconsin should be able to be in the game by running clock and doing what it has to do if you think that they're going to be able to move the ball effectively against the Trojans on the ground.
Well, and the bye week thing is playing into my thoughts here too, because USC got beat to hell up front. And not just, I'm not saying that they were dominated and their D-line was dominated toward the end, but they just got pounded by very large people on both sides of the ball. And it just happened last week. Wisconsin got pounded by very large, very good people on both sides of the ball, but that was 2 weeks ago. And I do think that also matters as you go forward. These are the things we're going to have to consider in these Big Ten and SEC games, like schedules who you just played or who you didn't play at all is going to matter a lot going forward. And Wisconsin having the bye week, I am going to go with Wisconsin to cover because they had that bye week. I think they're going to be able to keep it semi-close. I don't think they're going to win this game. I'm just saying they're going to cover because I'm getting a truckload of points.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go USC here and feel not as confident about it as I would like to. But you know what I really like in this game? If you think that Wisconsin's going to cover, then that over looks really attractive to me. Like if you think that this is like a 31-21, 31-24 type game, I think that number, because I can't just imagine a world, unless Wisconsin has 12-minute drives multiple times in this game, where USC doesn't get to 30 points in this game.
I mean, 44-30 is a plausible outcome for this game, and then Wisconsin covers.
I mean,
about it
if
that way.
Wisconsin scores 30 points in this game, then USC's in trouble this year, in my opinion.
I would agree. But
yeah,
watching Michigan run the ball against them, I think, and look, if they hadn't just played Michigan, I don't know that I'd be as confident in Wisconsin running the line. And maybe they prove me wrong. Maybe USC completely proves me wrong. But given what we saw and the fact that there is a body blow effect, it's like, Bruce Feldman, our friend at The Athletic and Fox Sports, used to always write this story about teams that had just played Navy and how poorly they played the week after they played Navy. Well, playing against Michigan, at least the Michigan we saw last week, is like playing a supercharged service academy team. So you just got pounded on.
You're right. I have to say this, though. And it was surprising to me, but if you go back and watch the second half of the Michigan USC game, USC really hung in there well physically. Like until that last drive, obviously.
USC's changes on the offensive line at halftime made a massive difference. They blocked a lot better. I don't think USC's D-line was that much better. I think the fact that USC's offense was moving the ball changed the dynamics of that game quite a bit. Because remember, the first half, USC was just going 3 and out every series.
Right, for sure. And if you're a defense that knows that the other team can't throw the ball at all and you give up a 2-minute drill without them putting the ball in the air one time, like that's just like the personification of what the issue was last year. But I do think that Wisconsin probably has a more functional passing attack than Michigan does at this point too. So that changes things a little bit from the calculus of the spread.
Well, and we'll see what they built around Braden Locke, knowing that he's got to be the guy. It'll probably look a little bit different, but I'm fascinated to see this game. Every game this week, there's some sort of hook to it. So